Hello everybody and welcome back to RP-1. I got just a short video today. I've been working on the rocket program for a little bit and I've been kind of struggling, and I'm in a situation where I need a lot of science, and there's not a lot of ways we can go about getting a huge chunk of it. So today we're just going to focus on a couple flights. I did mention how I would like to get better at flying and landing my plane, so that's kind of be our goal for today. We're going to have both Heidi Weber and Stuart Kelly out in the cockpit. One of them is going to attempt this X-plane high altitude contract to get to 55 kilometers, and then the rest of it will just be done for science. As you see here, we have absolutely none. We need, in order to progress our X-plane program, we are going to need high-speed flight, but that is 10 points, so it's going to be a bit, but that has the engines and configurations we need in order to progress further. We also want better heat shields and things like that. We're going to need better orbital rocketries if we're going to start keeping up with the times, and I really want to get these solid rocket boosters. I feel like they'll really help our orbital program, and then, you know, things like avionic probes are also necessary to lower the weight of the craft, and so all of the science right now is kind of necessary. So it's hard the fact that we have no science being researched or no way of making any kind of new science. So I'm making some adjustments to the XP3. I'm actually creating a new one instead. I'm not editing one of the ones we have in storage, but I'm just adding air brakes onto it. That's the only change that I've made, just to make landing a little bit easier. Unfortunately, I don't pay attention to the fact that this isn't an edited one. This is just its own separate plane, and so we will not be utilizing these air brakes in today's episode, unfortunately. Really could have paid off if we had, but nonetheless, this is a relatively cheap plane, and we're going to be putting it out there. We did a test flight, it all works out, and so there's nothing left to do except get our pilots trained in the mission at hand. We have an XP3 already in storage, and so we're going to be launching that one today. It has already flown on a flight already in the previous episode, so this is the same plane as that, and that's going to become important in a few moments. We'll talk about that later, but the thing is that it's not a new plane. We are going to change our distance to be about 307 kilometers from the Space Center, and we did a lot of tests at different distances, and between 305 and 312 kilometers was the sweet spot. But anyways, we got Stuart Kelly in the cockpit this time, ready to air launch. And with that, we are up in the air. After a short hesitation, the game calculates everything. We have control. We kick on our engines, and only the one engine on each side ignites, and that's pretty normal. We've gotten used to that. It will kick up into full gear soon enough, but atmospheric autopilot is enabled, so we can start pitching ourselves up and fly very stably. We want to get as high as we can today. So just about any moment, those engines will ignite fully, and there will be a burst of flames behind, and we'll get full utilization of our power. Any minute now. So here I'm starting to focus on the back end of the engine, because I'm like, alright, I should get going. But it never does, and that is because it is an old engine. I didn't pay attention to this until in the editing process that I put it together, the fact that this engine itself has gone on several flights. The actual specific engine on this plane has gone through several flights, and is due for a replacement. And I will not figure that out this whole episode. I learned that after the fact, but yeah, there is a lifespan on certain parts. The engines being one of them. Plane engines in particular need to be changed out every now and then to retain good power. But nonetheless, we have, even in our test flights, this plane is capable of reaching our goal. As you see in the top left, our apoapsis is now climbing to 53 and is about to pass the 55. There we go. Still have about 5 seconds remaining in our flight time, and so we push ourselves up to about 58.5 kilometers, which is nice. We'll be above the 40-kilometer mark, so we'll be able to get some science from that. Not a whole lot, but nonetheless, every bit counts. So we already have 2.5, and we've got a little bit of time to go. So now all that is left to do is land anywhere, safely splash down or on a runway. We get bonus reputation if we land on the runway, so that is what we're going to try to do. Going forward, we're going to try to avoid water landings as much as possible. We'll take the time to find the sweet spot to get to the KSC, and we'll launch from there, always trying to get wheels on the tarmac. Not really much I can do here. It's basically just a glider. We're falling down more than we're going forward, so I kind of have to balance my trajectory. We are indeed a little bit closer to the KSC than I would have liked, but we are also going faster than typically when we're this far out and we've had to take a water landing. So hopefully we'll have enough fuel to cover the distance. Stuart Kelly sees the approach, tries to line up as best as possible, and comes down at a relatively safe angle of approach. Still going over 250 meters per second. Not great. Those air brakes would have been very helpful. So we're going at regular time speed and cruising right over this little lake. I'm not sure what you would call this part of the terrain. A little water and island area. Always makes coming in low tricky. I am a little bit lower than I feel like I should have been. And we are going 234 meters per second, which is still quite fast for a touchdown. And it's about this time that I'm realizing that we don't have the air brakes, so all I can really do is rely on my parachutes and maybe some maneuvering. 215 meters per second as we approach, and we're not even above the runway, so this is already looking like it's going to be a bad landing. But we are also losing speed enough that we're going to be coming down no matter what. So Stuart pops the parachutes, does what what we're going to dub the Kelly flip, and then safely and softly comes down on all three wheels. There we have it. We have successfully done the optional contract. Unfortunately, it wasn't a required one, but the optional 55-kilometer contract, bringing us closer to completing our program. But for now, let's bring him on home. Let's get Heidi into the next cockpit, and we're going to do that once again with her. Only this time solely for the science. They like to launch in the early morning for some reason. They actually like to launch at night. Like, everyone gets ready and it's like, okay, 3 in the morning, let's get ready for our flight. And it's like, well, why don't we wait till dawn? How about that? But once again, I had in my impatience, I did not wait for the new plane to be built, but rather this is still the same XP3 that we've seen earlier in this episode and in the previous episodes. And so it should come to no shock when I tell you that once again our engines do not light to their fullest capacity, and because I also did not replace them. So just a good lesson this episode gave us about our parts, and remembering that when we recover pieces of our craft, we have to remember that it's not a new craft. This is not a new plane being launched, but rather the ones that has the wear and tear of the previous launches. So with that, Our altitude only reaches 51 kilometers. Didn't even get as high as we did before. And pretty soon we will find ourselves back on our downwards trajectory. I think once we get in the game again, if we need to do another high altitude flight like this, we're just going to replace the engines, or better yet, replace the plane. The new XP3 with the better brakes on there. Like I mentioned before, I'm also going to redesign as soon as I have a big enough configuration change that warrants a redesign of the plane. I'm going to redesign it, and I'm going to make the procedural wings, I'm going to take the time and focus on getting them just exactly how I want to get them. Same with the jet planes. The jet planes, I relied too much on stock parts. The X planes, actually, after looking at this is not bad. Not bad procedurally generated wing, or not procedurally generated, but procedural wings. But you know, there's always room for improvement, and I think I've been taking a back seat on my design skills in the X-Plane programs this time around. So we will look at what will do us best. We do need to, of course, get higher. We need to break the Kármán line. We need to get a Kerbal into space. Bring them safely back home, of course. We need to get a satellite into orbit with the magnetometer, the micrometeorite experiments, all the new experiments that we've unlocked that will take several days in orbit, if not more, that will give us residual science. We need to get that going. We need to get a full load of advanced biological capsule science and return it home. So we've got a lot of plans to do in the next episode, so I just wanted to keep this one short and focus on these two flights. Heidi Weber, of course, also not the best at landing. Stuart, that last landing that we just saw, wasn't the best, but at least, you know, he made it to the runway. Heidi Weber has the same opportunity now, since she is close enough to the KSC that she can actually land on the runway instead of having to dump it in the water like before. So we'll see how she does. But yeah, in the next episode, we're going to focus a little bit more fully on the rocketry. If I have to do some more science grinding like this, just do these contracts again, I may just like show you a brief overview of what we do, but I think I want to focus more on the rocketry, getting our heavy satellites into orbit, getting our science built up that way, potentially returning crafts back to the surface from orbit, from a multi-day orbit would be ideal. So we're going to focus on that in the next one, and I hope you are looking forward to that. But for now, Heidi, take it away. Bring us home. Give us something to smile about before we close this episode off. Not a great lineup on the runway, but she's coming down nonetheless. 200 meters per second, a lot faster than she should. Hits the parachutes and the brakes, and before she knows it, she has come to a complete stop. Heidi Weber, that was the first, I would say, truly successful landing. Very abrupt and chaotic, but it worked, and sometimes that's all you can ask for. We go ahead and grab her home. Unfortunately, we did not make a lot of science in today's episodes. We made 1.5, which is not even enough to get our solid rocket booster. So, like I mentioned in the next episode, science will be the name of the game, and hopefully rockets will be how we win it. But anyways, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more RP-1. If you did, think about subscribing. Drop me a like, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.